Welcome, Ms. Pegues. This is Elleron Morris, and today we are going to interview you as our hidden figure for the week. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for having me.
And our series is about the Hidden Figure series, which sheds new light on America's fastest industry and the pioneers that have made STEM and information technology a ready career path for women from all walks of life. So today, before we get started with these questions that I'm going to ask you today about you being a hidden figure for the week for GEEK, I would like for you to just kind of give us a little background about who you are, where you attend school, and what you do now in your career as far as STEM, and give us a little brief background, if you will.
Okay, well, as he mentioned, my name is LaQuela Pegues, and I am a IT project manager. I currently work for the school district of Osceola in Kissimmee, Florida. Most people would probably reference Orlando if you aren't familiar with Kissimmee. And I pretty much manage projects that are a lot of software implementation and currently working on some projects that are doing process improvement for our payroll systems. And I'm also doing some upgrades for our student information systems.
Nice, very nice, very nice. How you like it?
I actually enjoy it. It's not bad. It's a little different to my prior projects that I used to manage working in the government. I did a lot of infrastructure related projects, so it's a little different, but I enjoy the complexities of the transition to be able to leverage managing infrastructure related projects and also managing software projects. So it's a little different when looking at the two. And I'm a business owner. I didn't mention that. I own my own branding and graphic boutique. So I pretty much specialize in doing all types of graphics, stationery, and I also have a branding component where I focus on helping businesses grow their brands.
Wonderful, wonderful. Just keep us in mind when we come to you about our brand, okay?
All right.
Don't forget about us, and I hope you offer a friend of the family discount.
I don't mind. I'm trying to incorporate everything I can to help, and we all can grow together.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all about helping one another. So, as we talk about your industry, as far as what you do now in regards to STEM, and
Mm-hmm.
also with your personal brand as far as marketing and digital design, where do you see the industry in the next 3 to 5 years?
That's a very good question. Given our current pandemic, that I think really the direction I think we were moving in terms of the world and the digital front of things being more digital and streaming and going more to a virtual space. I think the pandemic kind of forced us to move a little quicker sooner rather than later. And that's kind of where I foreseen things going anyway with the trend of the current market. But I see now with the opportunity that was presented there, it forced a lot of businesses and industries to act quick on moving more into a virtual space. So like, for instance, as far as education, we already had online schools and online courses, but for us, it forced us to move rapidly at a faster pace to take our classrooms to a digital market, well, to a digital space. And then even in business, it forced a lot of businesses that were so used to operating in a brick and mortar to more so look at now how can I service my customers and move more into an online space. So for me with work in my current environment, it was a different transition because we had to within a week take all of these students and get them into a functional space to be able to operate in a capacity virtually. So that was increasing the bandwidth a lot for the network, trying to rebuild laptops to get them out so all of the students were able to have accessibility to a computer or laptop at home. And then in my business, it was different because so many entrepreneurs or business owners that never had touched the digital space now needed to figure out, how can I leverage my business and still thrive in this pandemic when we all are forced to stay at home. So it's been a good balance in me seeing from a work perspective how life is, but then as an entrepreneur seeing how life is. So that kind of helps me see the future of virtual space being like the top of the list for where we're going in the next 3 to 5 years.
Right. I love your insight on that too. There's very, very interesting perspective from what you was mentioning about the whole dynamics from a brick and mortar traditional standpoint, as far as business now moving to more of a virtual background, mm-hmm. and how it really sustains, the new way of working now. Is there let's shift a little bit to our preparation. Mm-hmm. Is there a significant advantage to formal education versus the YouTube University or the ads to learn the industry from a Facebook perspective?
Actually, and that's an interesting question actually, because at this point, I have advanced degrees, and I feel like people that don't have a degree has been able to leverage YouTube University, Facebook, and in that influencer space tremendously. Just learning how to do different things from watching YouTube videos or just pretty much open source research, and to see there are millionaires operating in that space. So I feel like if you are, and it depends on your work ethic and your discipline levels to be able to leverage that space, because not everyone can navigate the use of YouTube or using Facebook or just researching Google to find those things. So it takes, I think, a very disciplined person, but the influencers that are out here right now in this market killing it, they to me have shown that you don't really need to have a formal education per se, but there, I'm sure, courses or different trainings, and now everyone's offering so many different webinars and things in the digital market that I feel like people are leveraging that. They'll pay $50 or $60 to take a webinar, or $50 or $60 or $100 or $700 to take a watch a video on YouTube that somebody may charge for them to watch in a private space to educate themselves enough to be able to sustain. So I think it's equivalent to having a 4-year degree.
Wow, very, very well put. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting you say that with the YouTube University and how people can really teach themselves now. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time it's really based on self-discipline. So with that being said, can you explain to our audience the importance of the internship, or how that can be affected or yet leveraged?
Yeah. I actually can use myself for personal experience. I'm a very, I won't say, when I say I want to achieve something, I like really set myself out to like do those things. And when I first got to Winston-Salem State, it was very important for me to kind of learn what would be the best way to set myself up for success. And I remember freshman orientation, just hearing some of the upperclassmen talk about different opportunities and things you can leverage, and then being a part of the business department with management information systems. I think I love that part of being an IT person in a business environment, because you learn so much. And I feel like they have one of the most robust business programs, because it was so many different companies that came and provided insight. So it was so many companies that I wanted to position myself to leverage those internship opportunities, but never worked out. So in the instance where I wanted to do an internship, I wasn't able to obtain the ones that I wanted. But then the opportunities that I really worked closely with our resource career services and kind of leverage some of those opportunities there. And they had some, I think it was like a temporary opportunities that some jobs would funnel through. And I actually was able to do a temp job as a systems admin for Hanes Brand during the summer of my going into my junior year. So that was, to me, I took that as an opportunity to learn and use that as an internship per se. Even though that it was a temporary job and it was only for the summer, that they were looking for a system admin. And I felt that was the perfect opportunity for me. Then to now I'm working for a corporate company. And I think I was getting paid $15 an hour. So great pay for someone that lived on campus and didn't have to worry about paying rent. But I leveraged relationships while I was there. So I think it's important that if you can't obtain an internship in your area, at least look for opportunities in terms of temporary jobs or something that is kind of in line with what you're trying to do, just so that you're able to get the experience. And me being able to do that was perfect because after I did that internship, temporary job for the summer, they end up I built relationships, but then they end up having some openings for another position later on in the fall that I saw and I applied for as a point of sales technician, which was a full-time job. So I ended up taking on that job my senior year. So I worked for Hanes for about a year and a half as a point of sales technician. And while I was in college, me just doing that temporary job allowed me to obtain a career that's considered a career job during my senior year. So I think it's important to, even if you can't do an internship, find that way to navigate yourself into a temporary position at a company that you can kind of leverage and sustain from that opportunity.
During your time there, did you happen to have a mentor or any guidance?
Yes, actually it was two people. So funny story, while I was in the temporary job working as that system, I was working in their quality department as a systems analyst, but the analyst that was there, she had been there for years. She ended up getting laid off while I was there. But before she left, it was so many different things that she was kind of teaching me that I didn't really know or understand that helped me actually kind of grow within that short amount of time. Just learning how to network. And then it was so many things that I really wasn't really knowledgeable of. Then I was only coming out of a sophomore year of college trying to be a systems admin, that she was able to teach me just by leveraging what I knew from taking some systems admin courses and some database courses, and then showing me how to navigate that path of kind of like a career path on where I could go. But then once I was able to move into the point of sales opportunity, I was kind of mentored by one of I call him the OG because he was a very cool guy, but he kind of showed me the ropes when it came to understanding how to financially sustain while working and being in college. And he used to pick, because he's like, "You're so young, you're a baby." And I'm everywhere I've worked, I've been like the younger person, which is weird, but just mentally how to now transition into working in a corporate environment at such a young age, and leveraging, like I said, relationships, because a lot of the people that were supervisors to us were executives that worked at the corporate office. So that was one of the biggest things that I think was important during that time, because when you're in college and you're interning or in transition, I think it's a lot of things mentally that we have to learn how to deal with and understand. And for most people going into that space, you're working with people that are kind of seasoned, that've been there for a while. So just understanding even how to operate there, it was good to have those people kind of coach me along.
And I think it's really empowering about you explaining, not only that position from the mentorship perspective, but also about how you were the youngest one in the office. I think that's really important, because a lot of millennials still face that to this day. I mean, even myself, I face that. Me being the youngest in my particular work group. What was the one hurdle or situation you overcame that left you with the confidence to believe you could make in such a competitive market?
Well, the story that I have probably never really shared with people.
Oh, please share, please.
Was my transition from government. So, like I explained, in college I worked sophomore year as a systems analyst for Haynes Brands, transitioned into a point of sales technician. That I worked there in transition because I interviewed while at Winston-Salem State for FBI. I ended up going to work for the FBI as a cyber intelligence analyst. And I did that for 4.5 years, and then took on the opportunity because I wanted to move more into project management. I transferred agencies and switched to the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is known as DIA. That was a risky opportunity because I went from being a full-time permanent federal employee to now transition into a temporary position with the hopes of that temporary position being a permanent. So I went to DC on a hiring blitz, and that's when they have this mass hire for federal employees. But at that time, they didn't have enough billets to fill permanent positions. So that's why I was like, you know what, look, I'm ready for a career change. I enjoyed working in cybersecurity, but I wanted to be cybersecurity project manager, not just cybersecurity analyst, because that requires a lot of writing and research, which is fun, but that was where I wanted to go in my career. And I knew that billet was only for a year. So within that year, when I got there, because it took about a year for them to call back to transition me, I took on that opportunity, and the goal was for them to hire on all of their employees. And I went through, during that time, they had the government sequestration in 2013. So during that time, a lot of contractors were laid off. They were doing like furloughs a lot during that time, and I kind of got caught in the raft. So because of that, I was not able to secure a full-time position, and kind of left me high and dry in a sense. But I mean, I applied for other opportunities in different places, and I wasn't getting the callbacks that I wanted. I did leverage some very high level interviews that I was shocked that I could even obtain within that time frame. But then I transitioned to New York. And while in New York, I had the opportunity to work for the Bank of Tokyo. So I did that as a project manager for a while, and that was a pretty interesting opportunity. But that was a 6-month contract. So within that 6-month contract, once that was over, I leveraged that. Me and my now husband decided we were moving to Florida. So I moved to Florida, and I'm thinking I have this security clearance. I'm good. I can get a job right away. And not so much. Moving here, I felt was like one of the hardest things for me because I'm so used to getting these good opportunities, good jobs. And again, I was getting interviews. I interviewed for VP of cybersecurity for a company, and I'm like, I'm only 20 at that time, probably 25 years old. I'm like, they ain't gonna hire me. But the fact that I got this interview is great. So I just thought that I was gonna be at a level where I could leverage, but not so much. So between 2015 to 2017, I think those were like the hardest times for me because I was in and out of contract opportunities. So it'll be a 2-month, 3-month, 2-month, 3-month. Then it got to a point where it was so bad because no one was paying me what I was used to getting paid. So that was a struggle for me.
Yeah.
And it went on and off, like I said, between 2015 to 2017. Because in 2017, I was able to get my permanent job that I had now. But between that time, I launched my businesses because I had to figure out how I was going to survive. So when I first moved to Florida, I started a cosmetic line called Venom Cosmetics, and it worked. And I mean, it's still a thriving business today. But because I was in and out of work, I couldn't really sustain like I wanted. But what people would notice was my marketing and my designs and everything that I was using to promote that business, which is what put me into where I am now. Because if you had to ask me back in 2015, well, not 2015, I'll even go back to college. I never foreseen this, what I'm doing today. But that kind of pushed me into my purpose. So people seeing that type of graphics and the designs and the marketing, the branding that I was doing from that perspective forced me to launch Vanity Graphics. And I was starting to get so many requests to do work based on what people saw in my branding for my cosmetic line. So I feel like everything that I went through in those 4 5 years really put me in a different space mentally, and it showed me how to utilize other skills that I had obtained over the years and things that I taught myself how to do, really with somewhat no educational background, because I didn't do graphics in college. It's just something I always played with growing up. So I feel like if I could get through all of those opportunities and even the things that I dealt with in a work environment when I was working in IT in the government, all those opportunities, I even had mentors when I was working for DIA. I had a mentor that kind of pushed me into speaking up and doing things a certain way and being able to address certain situations and how to handle those things. It's all of that to me has created and morphed me into who I am today. So I think if I could get through all of that, I can get through anything. But all of that pushed me into creating businesses and opportunities for myself so that I could sustain.
Wow.
Long story, but that's
Nah,
a
it's all good. It's all good.
nutshell.
I mean, you
That's
should
me
be
in a
like the
nutshell.
woman tattooed on your forehead right there. I mean,
That's
you
me in a
know.
nutshell.
Um. Wow. I appreciate you sharing that. I know you said you didn't share
Yeah,
that
you
story,
guys
but
are first to hear the whole
yeah,
story because I
yeah,
never shared it before, and I always was afraid to kind of share that because I felt like most people that knew me knew of all those things that I've been doing, but to like see me out of work was kind of like, oh man, I don't want people to know that I'm not working. So I would not tell anybody I wasn't working. It took a long time for my close friends to even realize that I was out of work. So that was a lot, and I felt like my pride kind of held me back from being able to really connect with people that may be experiencing some of the same situations and how I can help them through those situations. So now
absolutely.
I kind of encourage people that are going through that drought of not working, like right now. Some
Right.
people are out of work, like encouraging them that this is only a short thing. You know, this is not something that's permanent, and just making it a positive.
Absolutely. And you end up saying something earlier that you found your life's purpose through that struggle. So,
Yeah, and I said I'm working on something that I haven't released yet, but I'm
okay.
gonna show people how to flip their pride if they're like me and their pride is like something that holds them back from being able to obtain some of the things that they want in life. So
Oh, that sounds
be on the
great.
lookout for something from
Yeah,
me.
let me know. Let me know. We'll do another interview for that. But with that being said, um, and I think that's great information too, because I know somebody on the other end is really needing to hear that from somebody like you.
Hmm.
Um, what do you tell aspiring students or young millennials who may want to follow in your path?
It's very important to really research. I'm big on research and understanding exactly what it is that you want to do. Um, because you want to be able to, and I use this word a lot because it's so much that people don't realize that they may have already done that they could really leverage. So do the research and understand if you want to navigate and go down the path of IT. Because when I first went to college, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do computer science. I'm so certain that I want to do computer science. But then when I was sitting there trying to register for those classes, I was like, hey, a lot of math courses right here. I don't know if that's really what I want to do. But then I said that's not the way to think about it. I wanted to like really understand what it is that I wanted to do. And once I identified that, hey, I'm big on business. I like business, but I love IT. And I understood then that, okay, if I major in management information systems, I'm able to leverage both of those skill sets and be able to talk to the business and talking, to IT. So doing the research initially is important because I've had a lot of friends over the years that had went down another path, and then once they graduated was like, hey, I want to go back and do IT, but their degree is in like nursing or something in another field. And I'm like, you sure you want to do that? But it's never too late. So just really understand what it is that you want to do, but then you have to be disciplined. You have to be focused, and I say find a mentor if it's something that you're really not sure about. Um, Again, if you can't obtain an internship, but you want to, make sure you try. If you can't, then look for work in that area and take a low paying job if you have to while you're in college. Sometimes you won't find internships that are paid. Take the opportunity voluntarily to work with someone. And then where we say we see the future in 3 to 5 years right now, I see a lot of people moving into entrepreneurship, into a digital space, more virtual. So leverage those opportunities where you reach out to an entrepreneur, maybe if you can't find a internship or a mentor program with a Fortune 500 company. You may be able to reach out to a thriving entrepreneur and say, hey, is there an opportunity for me to, assist you with some things or understand what they're doing, where you're able to get that same experience that you could get with a Fortune 500 company. So I say research, plan, and network is kind of three of the most important things, but then being disciplined and having a strong work ethic so that you can achieve those goals is very important as well.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice too.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope they really, when I say they, I'm referring to the millennial generation as well as those that are older than the millennial generation that may be shifting into IT space as far as making a career change or just in the STEM space.
Right.
Um, so let's shift a little bit to career pathways real quick. What are some of the exciting opportunities that someone can choose in the STEM or the IT field?
It's very broad, and I love the fact that I'm in this space because it gives me opportunity to move around in so many different realms. And I think, as everyone knows, if you look at the world today, IT is in everything, and there's opportunities for you to work in various industries. Um, and just really, like you said, it's kind of knowing where you want to go in IT, and navigating the path that way. Like I said, I started out in a system admin position. I went from that to working in point of sales technician. So those are kind of like, I went from doing kind of a administrative database driven in that world of analysis to going into point of sales that's more on the help desk side of things. But I think me being able to do those opportunities helped me grow into the positions that I was able to obtain outside of that space. And then working in cybersecurity, I've kind of touched a little bit of everything, but then going after, like, I have my ITIL certification. So definitely working in that point of sales technician space, I leveraged a lot of help desk. And then now moving into project management, ITIL and project management kind of can work in hand a little bit together, but it's just knowing exactly what it is you want to do. And then now here I am, an entrepreneur to some degree, leveraging doing graphics and design. So it's so many different career paths that you can obtain just working in IT. And I think it's phenomenal because even if you get down, I'm not into it yet in that space of business intelligence, and it's so much more broad than where I'm operating in. Because if you get into cybersecurity, that's a whole nother realm, and then just understanding all these different components that these all can kind of tie in together. So
Right,
it's a
right.
good space to operate in for sure.
You said ITIL, correct?
Mhm.
ITIL? Okay.
Mhm.
That's just for the audience. I know what it stands for.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's a certification that's very important for anyone that's looking to leverage working in the help desk arena, helping with processes and improving those processes and implementing kind of services.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for breaking that down too.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're gonna be like, I gotta go on Google and look it up real quick. Um,
It's a good certification to have. It's not a bad certification to have at all. Hopefully by the end of this year, I've dragged it out, but to get my certification for PMP is on the top of the list because everything that I've been doing over the last couple of years has not allowed me the opportunity to really sit down, study, and focus. So I've missed the versions being changed, and they were supposed to change again in July, but luckily the pandemic has paused that until January. So I'm hopefully going to be able to obtain it before they switch to the 7th edition.
well, I hope so too.
Yes.
So we know that technology is part of the inevitable component of human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of the personality developments that a career in information technology will require that most people may not be aware of?
Personalities.
Or should I
I
say
think,
soft skills?
yeah, I think working in IT is important to be. You'll see a array of people depending on what they do and how they
That's a
work.
great way of putting it.
Yes. You'll see a variety of people, but you'll see people that work in areas where it requires them to be very detail oriented. Because if you're doing any types of coding and things like that, you really have to be able to pay attention to what it is that you're coding and understanding what it is that you're trying to see, because the smallest thing could cause an error and screw everything up. But I think in programming is that's very important. So being able to be detail oriented is one. Organization, have organizational skills, I think, is another. Especially in the project management world, if you're working in IT, being able to coordinate and plan and do things in a certain way is very important. So that's another skill set that you want to make sure you have. And time management is important also. But communication is another, because working in IT, you really have to be a great communicator to some degree, because you want to make sure you're communicating certain things effectively in the right way. So being able to collect those requirements or that information is important, because whoever you're servicing or providing work to, that's going to be something that you want to make sure you were able to either listen and then communicate to whoever that you are. If it's a programmer in my world of project management, I'm pretty much providing this information to an array of people, whether it's a programmer, whether it's a telecom person, or if I'm communicating to the business, I need to get their needs across to this developer. And so it's a lot of different things that's important, but definitely communication, being detail oriented, time management, organization, all of that is very important.
Thank you so much for like definitely breaking that down. I think a lot of people will really appreciate that. I just want to highlight some of the key things that you just said right there: communication and time management. Right. So how do you find a healthy balance of family, fitness, and fun while maintaining leverage as a top
Ooh,
STEM IT professional in the field?
that's been very, very hard for me to to be honest, and I'll be transparent to that degree. Just trying to find, and I don't have kids, so that's another thing. So just finding that work-life balance has been difficult, and especially now in a position where um, at work I have some very high priority projects that are going that very high visibility, and being like the only PM right now that we have, kind of trying to manage that has been tough. Over the last year, with the biggest project that I'm doing right now is for like the payroll process improvement for the systems that we use. It's required some longer hours than normal with work, but I have to make sure that I plan out my day to a T to ensure that I'm able to manage, because I'm managing more than one project at work. So I have probably right now 5 high level projects that I'm managing, and then maybe 6 low level projects. But just being able to leverage that, and then home, like I said, I drive about 45 minutes to an hour to get home in the evening. So trying to find that time to do my workouts and stuff has been a little tricky. But just planning out my day has been the most important. And then with my personal businesses, they are in position now where it's time for me to scale. So just trying to learn how to manage all of that has been interesting, but I've been able to do it. So going back to what we talked about, those skills, having that time management, that organization is very important, especially when you are committed to a full-time job and then entrepreneurship.
And those that may not know what scale means, because I know
Hmm.
this, but for those that are not like with the business lingo that you're
Yeah,
using, um, you want to
I can
explain what scale
explain a
is?
little bit. Yeah, so when I first launched my brand Vanity Graphics for my business, that I'm my sole entrepreneur, so it's just me alone by myself. So I've managed to do pretty much everything, but now I'm in a position where I begin to grow. So I've experienced a growth spurt in the amount of clients that I have and the amount of work that I have. So now it's time for me to scale so that I can leverage other areas in my business. So scaling would be me adding on a intern, or me adding on another assistant or another graphic designer or someone that can do editing and reviewing when I'm doing websites. So content creators or content managers, those opportunities now are opportunities that will help me scale, where I can then remove myself from doing those things and kind of put it into someone else's hands. And then if I can scale even more, I want this to be a full blown agency that I can then do project management and leverage, my graphic design.
Well, you just spoken into light, so it's going to come
Hmm.
full circle.
That's the goal. I'm trying
Yeah.
to take it to the agency level now.
Yeah. And what we want to make sure that our businesses as entrepreneurs is that we can get to the point where it runs itself and we can
Hmm.
take ourselves out the picture and focus on more other projects that either complement or something that'll better fit um, our trajectory as far as finding our life's purpose, right?
Yep.
So, um, last question: how does become well? Probably it's probably not gonna be last question, but how does becoming a success impact your legacy as you continue to grow?
That's important to me. Actually, I've been kind of like thinking a lot about where it is that I want to make my stamp on life, like how I want things to play out for me. And like everybody talks about being rich and things like that. So I'm like, I want to establish wealth for myself, but like generational wealth. So I want to create something that my if I don't have kids, my family could still like leverage off of my nieces and my nephews and um anybody body and my family, just kind of like creating something that can kind of live on. So like I said, I'm interested in having I have these different businesses, but if I can find something that I can create within this time frame that will allow us to, like, that can live on after us, after me, even after them, like something that can establish generational wealth, then I know that I've kind of hit my success. I mean, I have a ton of different things that I want to do, but if I can get that one thing that I know is going to be like, this is going to do it for my family, like this is going to be our wealth builder that just goes on and on and on, and I know I've leveraged all the success that I need.
Right, and that's an awesome mindset, by the way. Just want to let you know,
Thank
and
you.
because like I tell people all the time, this GEEK was not it wasn't supposed to be this. I tell people all the time it was supposed to be just something small and simple, but now it's grown to something way bigger than
uh,
me.
Being geek is
And
big.
I got to be able to give this, to my family if something happened to me tomorrow, and just got to be
Hmm.
able to live on. And it's gotten to that point. So again, wonderful and beautiful mindset. So for the sake of time, I got one last question, real quick.
Hmm.
What does innovation mean to you, and how important is
Innovation is big for me, and that's a part of my branding actually when it comes to vanity graphics. I believe in helping people change and create things that are outside of the norm. Like, I believe that in this society that we live in, is no more room for like doing the same thing someone else does. Like, I believe in innovation and trying something different, and just seeing things in another perspective. So I think it's important that people think on how to be innovative every day, because I think the pandemic has forced a lot of people to become very innovative and create new things and new waves. And the use of technology now has, I think, been phenomenal, because some of these people that didn't even know that they could operate in a virtual space or use technology to take their business to the levels that they've been able to take them to, has been interesting. So I've been enjoying kind of the innovation that's come out of this pandemic for everyone. And I've been saying, and I say it again today, if people prepared and they set themselves up while they were in quarantine, then after all of this is over and officially done, they're going to be winning. So innovation has been key.
I agree. I agree. I always tell people to think outside the box and always use an agile mindset.
Yes,
So
that's important. I like that you use the agile terminology.
hey, I dabble. I dabble.
No, I mean, I think that's how people have to operate. You had to operate in an agile mindset during this pandemic, or you was gonna be like left
Yeah.
behind.
You will be. You will be. You got to be 10 steps ahead, man. I've been taught that my entire life, and I'm going to continue to use it. So, but thank you so much for the opportunity for our
Thank
Hidden
you.
Figures series, and this will definitely be 100% useful to our audience as well as young girls and even young boys. Um,
Hmm.
Not just that particular age group, but even older. Some women that may have made a career change and they're not really sure, but they on the edge and they're scared to make that leap of faith. And
Gotta do it scared. You gotta do it scared. I say it all the time. You don't know how successful you can be if you don't fail sometimes. And
that's
sometimes
right.
I use fail to succeed. So opportunities come out of everything. So you can't be afraid. I'm a risk taker, as I have shown through my story. I've taken some major risks, but I feel like those major risks have led me to some very good opportunities. And I wouldn't change my direction or my path for nothing in the world. I think before we got on the call, I told you I had accepted an opportunity to go back into the government, and I interviewed for this opportunity before. But at that time, I don't feel like I had leveraged all of the things that I needed to leverage that I have done now. So You can't be afraid to be a risk taker sometimes.
That's right, man. That's right. And I'm so proud of you too. I want to clap that up real quick. You know, I hope you
Thank
get
you.
that for real. I really do. And you know, like you said, build, measure, learn. You
Mm-hmm.
fail fast. You know what I'm saying? So this is our Hidden Figures series, which is the series that sheds new light on America's fastest industry and the pioneers that have made STEM and information technology a career-ready path for women of all walks of life. And I'll tell you, my friend, you are really doing it. Okay.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity every time. It's an honor to be a part, and I look forward to working and helping in any way that I can.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure some young ladies will definitely reach out. If you want to leave your handle for any social media for them to
Yes.
follow you.
If you are interested in kind of learning or finding out some information, please find me on LinkedIn at Laquela Pegues. Also look for me on Facebook, Laquela Pegues, and that's Pegues, Laquaila. Sorry for the switch up. And then on Instagram, it's Laquela P. So that's Laquailap. And if you want to follow my other brands, is Vanity Graphics underscore on Instagram and Vanity Graphics on Facebook. But if you go to my Instagram, I have a link tree and you can access all levels of me through there.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the
Um,
opportunity.
hey, listen, you continue to be the geek, girl. You doing it. All right. You continue to be the geek. Don't be
Thank
afraid of
you.
it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks.
All right.